Ezra?
When you're in charge of something, when you're the president of something, can you just say, you know what, guys, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore?
That's actually what you can do. You can't do that. I didn't know you were going to start that direction today, but I wondered if we would talk about that this much this morning. And that was kind of my take as well. Like, we've had enough.
There are a lot of issues here, guys, and I just think there's probably a better way to do this. It doesn't include me doing a lot of work. That's what I got from the NCAA and their president, Mark Emmert, yesterday. This has been a wild couple of weeks, I feel like, from the college sports perspective. We heard from a bunch of transfers into the program yesterday from Gamecock basketball. We'll discuss that as we roll on this morning. That Frank has used the term reset, and 5 transfers in, 7 transfers out, and a lot of new faces there. We got a new Gamecock football coach, Shane Beamer. I think it's 10-10 for that program. 10 transfers in, 10 transfers out. But you would expect that with a coaching turnover, and then now this one-time transfer rule that's allowed in college sports. Name, image, and likeness in the last couple of weeks has become a thing. And it's not like, Bill, we haven't been talking about the Power Five anyway, and what was the buzz phrase, autonomy, a couple of years ago, and what was going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. But then just for Mark Emmert to come out yesterday and say, you know what, we should probably think about, what if we started the NCAA today? How would we do it? That's what we should do? That's where you're going as an organization, just saying, yeah, it's not too big to fail. It's almost failed because it's too big. That's what I got from Mark Emmert's comments yesterday, that the NCAA might just want to put all the power in the conferences and the schools. And I felt like Mark Emmert was going, you guys.
It was
not just me. You got a little bit of that too, reading that?
Well, I got it to an extent. Yeah, it was part of Mark Emmert's, like, we really only want to be in charge of the sports that aren't trouble. So field hockey, Division II, probably Division III. He named a couple. There was, because I think it was wrestling he threw in there, because one of his comments was, yeah, we all realize now that some sports just are totally different. So it was almost Mark Emmert saying, all these other sports, you guys can have them. Just figure out what to do with them. We're just going to handle the lesser sports and maybe some other smaller divisions, and we'll just get back to you. Like, wow, all right.
This is what happens at the end of the night with my kids. This has been a rough day. They haven't been listening. And it's like, you know what? You guys figure it out. Turn out the lights at 8 o'clock. You figure out what you're gonna do. I'm done with it. That's what I got from Mark Emmert yesterday. Unbelievable, man.
The question I would have for everybody this morning is, a lot of people say, well, this is the end of college sports as we know it. This is the end of the NCAA. Is this the way you expected that to go down? Because didn't we at least expect the NCAA to go down swinging and not, like you say, just throw their hands up in the air and go like, you know what? It's too much. It's too much. I need a vacation.
He did it in like the weirdest way ever, too. This was not like a press conference. It was just a 30-minute interview with a small group of reporters where he kept stressing that this isn't a mandate, not even recommending this necessarily. I'm just saying. Like, he came out and was like, I'm not saying, but I'm saying. I'm just saying. It's so weird, man. It just forces us to think more about what constraints should be put in place ever on college athletes, and it should be the bare minimum. Since when has the NCAA ever thought about the bare minimum of restraints in the college athletes and the whole? All right, so where do we go from here, Bill, is my question. Where in the world does college sports go from here? Is the SEC going to start ruling the SEC? Is the ACC going to be in charge of the ACC? Is that how we're going to do it moving forward? Is it going to be Power Five? Is it going to be Division I breaks off? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I people, and I'm just, I heard Frank Martin, so I'm using his name. I heard him on Heath show late yesterday afternoon. But for Frank to already call it buck wild, he better buckle in, because to me, this is the NCAA throwing their hands in the sky and saying, we got nothing. We got nothing. And okay, guys, it's on you now. And nobody knows where to go now. I think nobody was prepared for the NCAA to basically say, yeah, we don't have an answer. And quite frankly, we don't even care to come up with one. So I think now it almost just, you know what, was it the text or the tweet or whatever it was we got, I think a week ago, referring to the, I believe, Little Caesars commercial where the guy walks in and takes off his shirt, and he says, there's no rules. And he takes his shirt off and they said, put your shirt off. There's one rule. I don't even know what that one rule is right now, but I think there is one rule, but I'm just not sure what it is. Tim, I don't know. This will now become the complete evolution of college sports as we know it, if this is the stance the president of the NCAA is going to take. This will be this. I don't know what it looks like when we come out on the other side.
The quote to end this article that I'm reading on ESPN.com, Mark Emmert, the NCAA president. You can lean back and do nothing and then just wait and see what happens. Or you can say, look, we're in it. This is a new era. We need to take advantage of it. Pivot as much as we can toward the areas I was just talking about. Embrace that change rather than fighting it. This is a beaten man, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, completely. Oh, wow. Did not see that coming yesterday. Did not see that coming. And interested in hearing your thoughts this morning about, all right, if it's up to you, where are you going to go with this thing? What's the ideal way to set things up, since now apparently everything's on the table with the NCAA? Yeah, that was that came out just a couple hours after your boy. I'm going to call him your boy, Bryson DeChambeau.
Not a good day for him, huh?
It's one thing to not hit the driver well and only hit 4 fairways out of 14. It's another thing then to come out and blame your equipment and say, yeah, we hadn't figured out how to design these things properly. And then it just sounds like the people that deal with DeChambeau are about like the NCAA president, Mark Emmert, right now. They're just like, I'm done with this guy. I'm just going to go ahead and say what I've wanted to say for a while. And he is ridiculous. And then DeChambeau came back out and apologized. And what a mess. What's going on with your boy there?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I have to go back and find the Cobra guy. The Cobra guy, Rob or whatever his name was. He couldn't have been more right. I mean, he flat called Bryson DeChambeau out, didn't he? Like the response.
It's just really, really painful when he says something that's stupid.
I mean,
he hasn't really been happy ever. Like it's very rare when he's happy.
And this guy Ben. I'm sorry, not Robert. Ben Showman, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah.
And he caddied for DeChambeau at the Rocker when they had the famous split up of him and the caddy and his former caddy.
Right, that's right. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and said, and I like this. The guy Ben, the Cobra representative, said, I know that if I got him cornered right now and said, what did you say that for? He would say that he was mad. He really didn't mean to say it that harshly. He knows how much everyone bends over backwards for him, but it's still not cool. Like, I mean, look, the way that this Cobra representative just absolutely laid out Bryson DeChambeau, I thought was absolutely hilarious and great. And you're right. And he was right about every single thing, which was even more hilarious. Like, look, he's just mad and he acts like a big baby and he blames everybody but himself. And it's just sad. And that's basically what he said. And Bryson DeChambeau basically had to come back and admit, yes, I'm a big baby.
My frustration and emotions over the way I drove the ball today boiled over. I sucked today, not my equipment. And then he talks about how Ben there with Cobra and their family have worked together and they're like family. I deeply regret the words I used earlier, DeChambeau said. I am relentless. This is the problem I have, and this sums up DeChambeau to me. Right, just in the apology. But he says, I am relentless in pursuit of improvement and perfection. Part of that causes me to become outwardly frustrated at times. With the new speeds I am obtaining, my game is a constant work in progress, and so is controlling my emotions. Garbage. Just garbage. Unbelievable. What a day. What a fun day it was yesterday. Fortunately, we'll be doing this most of the day, and we'll have some professional updates for you from Westwood One about the British Open. In play right now, Bill, I'm impressed that you have been actually paying attention to the show in the first few minutes, and you haven't had any squirrel moments about what's been going on in round number 2, where I believe Colin Morikawa still has the lead, but we're going to get the latest from what's going down over in Royal St. George's in England as the second round well underway. Westwood One going to bring us updates all throughout the day at 16 and 46 after the hour. And guess what? It's 6:16. Here's the update from Westwood One on the British Open. You got that, Bill? A little audio rolling through. Morning, DC.
Yeah, I was on the little ESPN that I was looking at.
All right, so you want me to go into the break?
Yes, ma'am. Oh boy, Jason, good to have you back. I'm with you. Darn clubs. And David. Yeah, we'll get into this, Travis, as well. I think it was Tom Hart, broadcaster, says if he was a Big 12 school, he would definitely come up with some sort of hand symbol that he would make sure the Big 12 would penalize the other team as well for 15 yards if they hit a low. All right, what are the odds that I can keep the British Open going today without any technical issues? Slim.
Yeah, Jason, I'm going to go to more of blaming the clubs now. I watched last night that golf, that putt game show that they have with Rob Riggle and Joe Tessitore.
Oh,
Holy moly.
moly.
All I can think is, man, Joe Tessitore's career path is really, really interesting.
No doubt. Boxing, college football, Monday Night Football, holy moly play-by-play guy.
Yeah. And the way the little character or the way he acts on there resembles somebody who realizes he went from Monday Night Football to a comedy, people getting knocked into muddy water by a porta potty after they hit a putt shot.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude, man. He came into town and a bunch of us had lunch with him one time down at the Blue Marlin several years ago. Interesting dude.
I was on the elevator with him once at the SEC Media Day and just kind of, I don't know, nice guy, but kind of weird. Like I couldn't, it's like he wants to talk to everybody.
Right. You know, he reminds me a little bit of, it was before my time, but Howard Cosell kind of was always putting on a show, you know, taking it to the next level. I feel like he's got some of that. That is a real Coke machine behind me there, David. Doesn't have any Coke in there. Doesn't even have any beer in there right now either.
That's just wrong.
Dude.
But you probably have to child proof it. Of course, maybe the kids can't crack a bottle open yet, so.
Yeah, we're good there. You got to have a little key to get in there.
Perfect.
And it has about 3 bikes laying in front of it, a kid's golf bag right now, a fan. Pretty well fortified.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the final day of the flag football camp, or did that end yesterday?
No, they wrap it up today.
So what's the consensus been now after 4 days?
Oh, they love it.
Oh, good.
It sounds like it's at a school where they do a bunch of camps, and they got the formula down. Just keep them playing games.
Yeah.
Get to snack time, play some more games, get to lunchtime, done.
That's all you got to do. Keep them moving.
They promised them popsicles on Friday. Got that.
Just doesn't get much better.
Exactly.
Our bosses
Popsicles.
here don't do that.
Popsicles on Friday.
Josh says he's good with the doing it on Monday. He did not realize the interaction that you had. I explained to him the interaction that happened the other day.
The fun back and forth.
Yeah, and actually he said that this guy reached out to us about getting on the air. I was like, well, that changes things a little bit. And that might be a good situation then.
Good.
I just didn't want to be the other way, and then it felt like he was doing us a favor, or just owned a part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like another nice day in wherever they're at. I don't know. England. England.
There.
I feel now, having watched, and I guess because what is it, next week or a week from today, I guess, is when the next series of Ted Lasso comes out. So I guess I got to get the next 6 shows in.
Yeah, I'm gonna start cramming.
It's the 30-minute shows. That's my kind. Honestly, that's my kind of television. 28 to 32-minute shows. It goes by. It's done. Like, all right, I can kind of move on.
Some people think about this show, but then it just keeps going. And
that's not true. There's a lot of people on this.
Live 6 hours.
Right.
Who thoroughly enjoyed the 6 hours and want 6 hours.
I think they thoroughly enjoyed us struggling through the 6.
It was more of a sadistic thing,
Yeah. Well, it kept them busy too. They didn't have to work that hard. They could just play it off, look at the bucket. Like something was on the computer, boss, and don't have to. And then they were able to go to lunch, and then half of the day was done. All right. Well, this kicks off a nice little stretch for us because then we come back and we got media day on Monday.
Morikawa's on fire. He got like a 4-footer to go 9 under. It looks like.
Where are you? You must be ahead. I'm what Tony Finau just.
Yeah, Morikawa hit his approach a couple of shots before.
Okay, all right.
Now it looks like they're on the tee, high above with Cameron Smith.
Yeah. Yep. Right there with you. Look at that scenery.
It looks like they're at the ocean course right now with the weather.
It does. It actually looks quite enjoyable. Oh, Justin Thomas. Oh, I see Justin Thomas is going with now the new European attire for golf, the hoodie sweatshirt. Boy, did McElroy finish blowing up yesterday? I missed the very end.
Guess they'll +1 or something. Maybe -1.
And he might have, man,
You guys are up.
Looks like Colin Morikawa about to take a 3-shot lead at the British Open, going nuts. He's on his 12th hole, I think, going to be 6 under on the day with a short putt, assuming he makes that. And we'll keep you updated all throughout the morning on the second round of the British Open, where Louis Oosthuizen had a 1-shot lead going into today. Jordan Spieth and Brian Harman in that group, 1 shot back. We got that going on. It has us in a good mood this morning. We got plenty to discuss from yesterday as far as that British Open and Bryson DeChambeau being Bryson DeChambeau, and then the NCAA, what Mark Emmert had to say. I think just kind of blows my mind. We talked about it yesterday, Bill, and the name, image, and likeness and where the NCAA is now, college athletes. But the latest I saw, Trey hit me up this morning on Twitter, making sure that I saw that Colin Burgess, the Carolina catcher, is a Barstool athlete now. I don't even know what that means exactly, Bill. Do you know what that means? I've seen a bunch of college athletes doing that. I know that means they've come to some sort of deal, but what it includes, I have no idea about the details. What about you?
No, I have no clue. I mean, again, the things that people are doing, like I'd be curious. I guess you don't have to disclose the amount of money that you're making, but I'm with you on this because was it which I have to go back. There was so many South Carolina basketball players yesterday that spoke, but I know one of them, I believe
Chico Carter.
Was it Chico Carter?
Yeah.
Who was again partnered with this underwear company, and so that we're seeing, it feels like we're seeing more and more players partner with. So I don't know, but it'd be interesting just to know what exactly these guys are getting. Is it $50 a month? Is it $100 a month? Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy is very, very sharp with business, and that's a guy that I think understands probably really well how to take advantage of the situation. But I still would kind of be interested to see how he's going to go about building his. When I say Dave, when I say he, I mean Dave Portnoy and Barstool. How he's going to go about building this thing and what you're going to end up seeing them become.
No doubt about it. It's quite a time in college sports, and I know it for a portion of not just Gamecock fans, but just college fans in general. It is giving you a feeling that you are frustrated and the purity of the sport's gone and the whole thing. I understand what you're saying there. I understand the feeling about it. I want to see this play out a little bit more before I go that far down the line or see exactly how it is, and especially knowing how much money has been involved for a long, long time in big-time college athletics, especially men's basketball and college football. How this is going to play out and the ramifications, how it affects the team. You know, we've already seen some players come out and say that they are going to share some of their revenue generated with their teammates, and they're coming up with a plan to do that. How long that lasts and then how that works out in the real world, fascinating to see. I saw the Pittsburgh quarterback put up a picture, I think, and say he's now represented or signed some sort of name, image, likeness deal with a local restaurant where he'll be taking out his offensive line on their weekly dinner, and that's how he's starting his name, image, and likeness career, I guess, or one of the ways he's doing it. That makes sense, I think, for a lot of big-time college quarterbacks to figure a way to do that, and I think it makes sense for a local restaurant to become partners with that group if that's what they're looking for, and certainly Columbia would fall in that type of city that would embrace that. Will be interesting to see, because I'm surprised we haven't heard from Luke Doty, DJ Wanalele, either one of those guys in the state of South Carolina, because they're immediately the faces of their programs and kind of by default two of the biggest most talked about athletes in the entire state of South Carolina, right? Quarterbacks at Carolina and Clemson, a bunch of attention immediately goes to them. But I find it a little curious to this point, Bill, that we haven't seen anything like what Bo Nix did at Auburn, basically immediately popping up with a picture of the tea that he likes to drink and representing them. What we've seen down in Florida with the two big-time quarterbacks at Miami and Florida State partnering together and coming up with a name, image, likeness, basically company on their own to try to encourage other athletes to join and kind of join forces. But we haven't seen that in South Carolina. Does that surprise you, or what do you expect will be the next step for both of those guys?
For both, when you say both of those guys, I thought you were going to go a little bit different direction there. I mean, and threw me a curveball. I don't know what the next step is for anybody, man. I mean, it really now, when you get the statement from Mark Emmert, the way he said it yesterday, it sounds like an organization that is now in complete chaos, and they don't know how they can't get the toothpaste back in the tube. That's done, and they don't know what to do. For players, there's now no real guidance on what is allowed and what's not allowed. So when you say, well, what is the next step for players? I don't know. I don't. It really is buck wild or the Wild West or whatever analogy you want to use to describe what's going to happen out there. You can't just leave it up to individual states. Maybe I don't know if you can set it up for individual conferences. There has to be a governing body that steps in and regulates this at some point. And because it's across college sports, you would think it would be the NCAA, but they clearly won't know part of this. They won't know part of it to the extent that Mark Emmert's like, yeah, maybe we should just back away from it. You guys all figure it out. So for players, for individuals, for schools, I don't know what the next step is. Yesterday was the most fascinating part of all this because it almost, I don't know if it appears there's no effort to rein this in, or if it's fear of it that is causing everybody to freeze and not know what the next step to take is.
Well, you have the unknown, right? Kind of the fear of the unknown that I mentioned that I think just immediately turns some fans off and saying, I'm not paying attention to college sports anymore now that they're getting paid. It's not the same, and it's basically pro sports, and there's no more purity, and that's why I like college sports. And then there are others saying the exact opposite, saying, they still haven't gotten enough. They're still not getting paid by the universities or the athletic departments that are raking in millions of dollars because of their work. And until that happens, I won't be happy in the whole thing. To me, it just seems like from the NCAA standpoint, Mark Emmert, you see all the issues maybe, and then some out there on the horizon. And you say, you know what, we've had our own issues with the workload as it is currently. And now the workload has seemingly just become a lot more massive. You know what? It's probably time to break up this organization or to restructure it in a much more efficient way. Dale brings up the hypothetical on the Facebook live stream this morning. What if a company like Adidas wants to sign a player, but that player plays on a team that has a different name brand like Under Armour? Wouldn't that be a breach under the Under Armour contract? Well, the way that it's set up, one of the few stipulations right now is that if there is a conflict with any kind of contract that is with the university's brand, that you can't be endorsing that brand in university apparel, basically, right? And then I don't know how it would work exactly, Bill, if one of those newcomers, let's say, that talked yesterday from Gamecock basketball, goes to Frank Martin and says, hey, man, I got to deal with Adidas. I'm going to be wearing Adidas shoes. Just wanted to give you the heads up. And obviously South Carolina wears Under Armour shoes. I don't know how that would work. Do you?
I would think what was this happened, and I don't know if it still happens quite as much, but I know I read about it like in the early 2000s and the 90s. It was just part of some marketing stuff that I had to take when I think it was either high school, like a high school class or a college class, and you would read about what professional athletes would do. And there were times that they would sign a deal with, I think it was baseball was the one that I did my presentation on, where they had like Rawlings, and it was a shoe, but maybe they preferred the Mizuno cleat, so they would have to tape up their cleats so that you couldn't see the logo on it. I know there's been times where if you've ever looked over and like, I think, what is it? it was strange. If you've ever looked over, I think it's the NCAA tournament where I've seen this, where it's sponsored by like Gatorade, but you look over and the water bottles just have a clear sleeve on them because it's like actually Powerade or something. There's no logo there to show you what they're drinking. So I would assume that would be the same thing. You'd see basketball players with taped up shoes so that you couldn't see the shoe or the emblem on it.
I mean, it is kind of ridiculous that we're even discussing this, right? That what a kid wears, which brand of shoe he wears in a game, in a college basketball game, would be a massive deal when it comes to marketing and dollars and the whole thing.
And because really, it should be based on what's comfortable for them. I mean, their foot mechanics and all that kind of stuff. Just putting them in a shoe. I mean, I look at it from that perspective more than anything.
Yeah, but you know there'll be a company out there, and there'll be guys willing, maybe bench warmers willing to warm up in some kind of crazy shoe get up just to get some attention or something like that. I don't know where this goes, but I know right now, Dale, as it stands, as it always has been, if you're on the team has a gear deal, you wear that gear. Mm-hmm. It's been that simple. I don't know if that changes now. And again, that's one of the many things that college coaches are going to have to manage. That was kind of Frank Martin's point when he spoke at his press conference a while back. And I know he was talking with Heath at length yesterday, PJ Dozier, Darius Thornwell on as well last night, talking about the South Carolina Pro-Am and being back in town and taking advantage of that for sure. But yeah, this name, image, and likeness stuff is wild. And then you got a sport and an athlete like golf and Bryson DeChambeau, who is writing the manual about how not to endorse a product or how to really tick off a partner of yours that is giving you money and equipment.
Well, and we've seen this collegiately, right here at South Carolina with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, I believe. Do you remember, were you around here? You were around here when Connor Shaw got in trouble for, I think, a tweet that he put out. There was some foot injuries going on, and Connor Shaw got in some trouble. And he put out, I think it was a foot injury during the summer, and put out that something was always happening to their feet with Under Armour cleats. I believe poor Steve Fink had to race to the rescue to smooth things over and put out there. No, it's not the cleats. It's just maybe some other issues. You remember that happening, I think, early around 2011, 2012?
Oh, yeah, that's always been a thing for Gamecock fans, I think, with Under Armour cleats and the word from players not enjoying that so much and not taking to them for sure. And now that you have the name, image, likeness thing, who knows where it will go from there. And I think we might get more clarity about this, or maybe at least the other perspective of where it sits right now from a college football coach perspective, coming up on Monday with SEC Media Days and Shane Beamer set to lead things off over in Birmingham. And I'm interested to hear what they have to say about things like that.
Well, I'm going to try this. What Mark Emmert says now throws an entirely new wrinkle into questions that will be asked of college coaches when you talk about decentralizing the NCAA. I'm not even real sure what that necessarily means, just because of some of the way he worded some of his comments about admitting, and this is true, and we've all known this, but basically admitting that certain sports are different from other sports and that they need to be governed a little bit differently. But that didn't make a lot of sense either. And that's why I'm saying when I say I don't understand what decentralizing means here, the comment that jumped out to me, and he said, we need to be ready to say, for field hockey is different than football. Wrestling is different than lacrosse, and not get so hung up on having everything be the same. Part of me understands what he's saying, because I do agree with that. Part of me is like, well, what do you mean by that when you say it's not the same? You mean that you're willing to govern field hockey because it's easier, but you don't want to govern football? Is that what I get from you saying that here? Because I do agree, field hockey, wrestling is different than lacrosse. I do get that. Wrestling, and I feel like when he says wrestling is different than lacrosse, Patrick would be here ready to fight this, I bet. But Tim, I think we agree lacrosse is not a part of the Olympics.
I think right.
Wrestling is a player, a collegiate player, which I feel like is about when they're in their wrestling prime, could get endorsements to go do Tokyo and wrestle, with endorsements.
Well, it's just such a a difficult thing for me to wrap my mind around. I feel like this is a teetotaling, don't do drugs kind of teacher coming out and just saying, hey, man, never mind. Peace and love. And everybody, do what you want. I'm moving to Colorado. See, like, what happened? What was all this other stuff that you've been doing for the last several decades?
Making life miserable for everybody.
Right. It just broke down and said, now there should be very little. I mean, that's what stuck out to me. There should be very little. The bare minimum was the phrase. Constraints should be placed on college athletes. The bare minimum. This is from the NCAA, who has famously had like the most detailed and minute, just involved rule book forever. And now you're saying, hey, man, minimum constraints. I get that the Supreme Court did what it did. It feels like when that happened, the day that happened, the NCAA was like, yeah, we're done. Everybody packed up their stuff. Like, all right, good run, guys. We'll do something different.
But are the universities basically now it's going to be upon them? Like they almost need to hire somebody because a coach can't manage this, and his coaches don't have time for this. So, like, is the university now going to have a burden of somebody who can manage that?
But then you're having. Then the inmates are running the asylum, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to tell on your own athletic department.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
The independent body there, that's what it's always been. And then, all right, does the Big Ten trust the SEC to police the SEC? Here.
Well, the one person who was happy yesterday about this was probably Nick Saban, because he's wanted to be football czar, I think is what he officially has said. I could be wrong. Maybe it was not czar. Maybe it was chairman. I don't know. But that's where honestly, as I read this multiple times yesterday, what I took away from the possible outcome of this, because this is what I was trying to figure out. What is the possible outcome? Is that college football governs itself. That, yeah, you form a committee that's entirely over college football. Well, then you break that down even more significantly. There's a committee that's only over the Power Five. And if you want to be a part of the Power Five, hopefully you get in. And if not, you got your own division. And I feel like what the NCAA did yesterday was like, we kind of would just rather govern the Division II level. We really prefer the FCS. They're our golden child to our rebellious FBS. The FBS is the one out there that's getting the tattoos and playing the rock music and staying out way too late and mouthing back to the parent. The FCS is the golden child who's getting the straight A's and it's in the school choir and, eating dinner early, going to bed. And it felt like part of it was like the NCAA is like, you know what, FBS, have your own way. Just leave the house and govern yourself, and we'll take care of your FCS sister or brother and the Division III as well, and you can go off and do your own thing. That's how it kind of felt. And I could see a scenario when he says, well, we have to realize all sports are different. Now, the one thing I would ask is, the NCAA controls one massive entity. The NCAA controls one massive entity that we all love. You know what that is?
The NCAA basketball tournament?
That's it. That's the only thing that they really have. They don't control the bowl system. They don't control the college football playoff. As we saw last year, the NCAA was trying to shut down college football in the fall. And the FBS, the conferences came together, some of them, at least some of them, except for the Big Ten and the Pac-12, who couldn't get on the same page. But they were like, no, you're not shutting us down. We're playing. We're not going anywhere. And that was the first time that I really realized the lack of power, which is kind of crazy that the NCAA can govern a team and say, no, you can't go to a bowl because your boosters paid a player, or no, we're going to limit your scholarships, but they can't stop them from playing football.
It's almost like they're taking their ball and going home, their $1 billion ball, and like, hey, we're good, guys. We're going to keep doing this. But we'll change our name to the NCAA Tournament Committee, and you guys can figure out the rest of it.
NCAA Light.
It's crazy. Todd, Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100. As I've said all along, we were all in a big hurry, a big rush to get this name into likeness out there. The NCAA sat back and said, we won't be a part of these athletes. They're student athletes and shouldn't be paid. Everybody keeps putting this on the NCAA to fix it. They didn't start this. Of course they didn't start this, Todd. But Who was in a big rush, man?
Players.
The $1 billion NCAA tournament's been happening for years. The money being made off college athletes has been happening for decades. It was the NCAA that knew this was coming and tried to push it on Congress to make laws, a federal law, so that basically they didn't have to do anything. They didn't do anything. And then the Supreme Court ruled against them, which I don't think they ever saw coming, at least certainly not 9-0 like it was. And they got caught completely unprepared, and now I feel like they're just throwing up their hands and saying, probably going to change how we do things. Travis sees this a little differently, says if there was ever a time to stretch or break any NCAA rules, now's the time. Doesn't sound like they're going to be doing anything for a while. I would probably advise against that. Like, it's easy to see obvious rules, infractions, and the whole thing, but you never know when it comes to the NCAA. Fortunately, we do know. We've got some experts keeping us up to date on the British Open. Second round going on over in England. Here's the update from Westwood One. All right. Help some camp preparation. Be right back.
Oh, camp preparation.
Once a week start, you know.
All right, back to the ESPN page where every time I turn around, they're playing the audio. That fixed that. Morikawa is 9 under. Hopefully today I'll get to watch more of this. I was a little tied up yesterday. A little tied up.
That will do it.
I did make it to the gym though.
Excellent. Made it to my class yesterday.
Oh, there we go. Look at us getting healthy. Getting
Tell you
healthy
what.
going into football season.
That's right.
Yeah, I got in there, did a little sauna, did a little workout, a little cardio. Try and drop about 5 pounds and get back under about get right around 160. That's really my goal. I think that's a good weight.
Good realistic goal.
Yeah, it's not going to be underwear modelish, but it's going to work perfectly fine.
You're working on your endorsements.
That's right. If
One second.
so a good buddy of mine, his son just committed last night to play baseball at South Carolina. That's good. That's nice. Yeah, I will admit, Travis, now's the time to go hog wild in recruiting. Just break out all the check books. Just take whatever you can get. I saw Mr. Lewis down there. He's fishing. I don't know if you can see him out there on the dock. I don't think you can see it. Yeah, I might have seen that, Travis. I just didn't have time to click on it.
Yeah, we'll have to give you a tour of our fancy dining area.
I saw the picture of Steve sitting there yesterday.
Basically, the only place you were really allowed to eat was the bathroom.
That's the good thing. I don't really eat in that studio at 6 o'clock in the morning. I guess when Jeff Coat would bring food.
Yeah.
I miss the old Jeff Coat breakfasts on Thursday morning.
I know.
We need to start prepping him back up for that, I guess.
Teach him. we were just talking about the new table, and I said, because before the only place that we really could eat was the bathroom. So legally, got to protect the equipment, which I get. But so now we have a table and chairs, which is great. Now, if we can get rid of or get a replacement of the fridge that we have, that pretty sure that an old general manager we had when he went to college in the 70s, I think that's his dorm fridge. So, and I'm really not kidding.
No, yeah, that fridge is no bueno.
So, if maybe we could get the asbestos icebox out of here, that would be like, we are golden.
Bill, did you say that was your buddy's son that committed to Carolina last night, baseball?
Yep. It's like he actually, the only reason I really knew that, although I've known Rob forever, I've known Rob for 25 years, I hadn't really seen him lately. And he sent me a text this morning, was sharing with me something about it. But I saw that Thomas Powell from River Bluff.
That's exciting.
23 guy, right?
I think so, yeah. I just happened to see his mom just posted something. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool for him. He's grown up. They've grown up big Gamecock fans.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Pretty cool for Thomas. I mean, I've actually kind of watched that kid grow up. I think that's maybe the first. I mean, it's kind of, he's older. Rob is older than me, but I've been around. We've coached together a little bit and done some stuff and hung out. Used to go get a lunch a lot, but was never really around his kids. But I remember going over to his house. Thomas, let's see, I went over to their house. It was the first time I think I hung out with him was back when South Carolina got beat by Florida in the swamp, like 56-6.
We're heading back in.
Like 07, maybe 08.
Wow. So a lot of suffering together.
Huh?
A lot of suffering together.
Yeah.
That was a smelly pick six game, I think. Right? That smelly in the pick six pretty early, and
yeah, Spurrier tried to rotate quarterbacks in that game and it didn't go well.
Oh. You guys are up.
it looks a little too nice, doesn't it, at the British Open today? I mean, I'm not saying you gotta have sideways rain and wind, and especially the whole time. But I am missing a little bit of the traditional British Open weather. What about you, though?
Yeah, I don't. Again, other tournaments, I like seeing the. I always say, I don't know, what do you want to say? The low scores, the 10s, 11s, 15s, 16s, where guys are making birdies left and right. Majors, I want to see them in the rough. I want to see anguish. I want to see anger. I want to see disappointment. I want to see them yelling at their apparel companies.
You just want to watch Bryson DeChambeau. There's plenty of rough over at Royal St. George's, and you just have to. You almost have to go out of your way a little bit to get there, and if you do, you get punished in a big way. And when you're Bryson DeChambeau, and I think I saw it in the match, right, where they played Aaron Rodgers' tee shot, I think, more than they played DeChambeau's, because he would just smash it. And also, it's smarter for the pro to hit the second shot into the green than it is to let the amateur quarterback try to do it. But yeah, the emotion overcoming poor Bryson DeChambeau was just in pursuit of perfection, and sometimes because of his massive club head speed, it just causes him to become a little too frustrated and completely throw his equipment company under the bus, which they're done with. Cobra or the NCAA? Who is more done this morning? I think it's a toss.
Cobra is still standing beside DeChambeau. I can't say the same for the NCAA as we head to the back half of July.
Good point. We're heading to hour number 2 on the early game. Keep you updated on the British Open as always, and continue to discuss what it's almost like the NCAA has come to anyone and said, "All right, how would you do it? We haven't figured it out. It's completely different now. What's the best setup? What's college sports going to look like?" What a crazy week, man. Yeah, fortunately, you're right. We got the czar of college football, Nick Saban, going to be addressing everybody at SEC Media Days. Maybe he's got a presentation ready for us. He can give us hour 2 next. Hero 105 again.
All right. So, Bill, are you wanting to cut that spot?
Yep. Roll me off real quick. Make it happen.
All right.
Peace out, Tim.
So I'll give you my British Open going down. Chuck saved the USA from invasion, but you guys can't save Colombia from my return. Mike is back on the text line. All right, Mike. So if you get any more, we have some more Chuck Norris references. That'll be what's going down. Mike's the big Chuck Norris guy. Travis, why are you just sending Bill videos, man? And how do you send a 30-second video? You can't do that in email, can you? Did you pop it on Twitter, I'm guessing? An interesting fashion choice. Somebody's going with, excuse me, khaki and then brown sweater, navy blue hat I just saw. That's that choke on my coffee. What's happening, Scott? Australian, known to take some chances. Jeff Thomas struggling to make a cut at 2 over. And now back to even with me. That's helpful. So it's number 7. That's a par 5. I'm supposed to play golf with my family, going to the beach later today. I'm going to have my 2 sisters, families, and then my mom and dad as well, all in the same house, like 16 of us. Let's see how that goes. So if you notice some background noise during the show next week, that'll be what's going down. I still got to figure out how to get a shot up. Like, what does this button do? Nothing. Weird. Still got to figure out how to run the live stream next week while broadcasting from likely the bathroom of that house while everyone's still sleeping at 6 o'clock in the morning. See how that goes. You guys got that to look forward to. Oh, Morikawa again, 3 feet away for another birdie. Or is this highlights? Nope. Oh, wow. Looking to become the first player to win 2 different majors. The first time he's played at those majors. That's what happened with the 2020 PGA, and it's the first time he's playing the British since they didn't have it last year. First man bun I think I've ever seen in golf. Never heard of this dude, CM. That is a serious man bun he's rocking too. When you choose the man bun over making money off of wearing a hat, bold choice. Bold. But I think I'm getting that karma back because my oldest is all about having long hair right now. You guys knock it out, Jen?
We did. I heard you talking about a man bun, and immediately I was like,
Yeah, this dude in golf has a serious one. It is not like a little one up there. It's not like a Hayden Hurst I have long hair, so I'm getting it out of the way. It looks like more like Trevor Lawrence if he busted it all up there.
Just not a fan of that. Just not.
I mean, in golf too.
Right. That'd be like that being in tennis.
Cameron Smith's got the mullet, but he's always wearing the hat, and then the mullet too, because you're all business up front. It's never getting in your way, man.
Exactly.
Don't understand that.
Mm-mm.
Let it all go. SIEM was his name that popped up with man bun.
I told my son if he ever ends up in a man bun, it will be scissors at night when he's sleeping.
Right.
Just personal preference, you know. For some reason with Hayden Hurst, it didn't bother me. I don't know why. But there's a lot of people it's like, no.
All right, Bill, you're back in. I got to
I'm sorry. I've been talking.
We've been ignoring you.
I was saying, you can't control him if he's in your house. Or you can control if he's in your house. If he's outside, he gets to have his hair however he wants.
Like I say, he's pushed a little bit on, he's kind of doing a modified mullet thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But
The old modified mullet.
well, it's not it's just sort of, I don't know.
All right.
Dude, where did I save this thing to?
Oh boy.
Oh. Helps if you know the name of the file.
That does help.
Mhm.
That is a big part of using the computer. Oh, McElroy did fight back yesterday. He was. Oh, but he's in a bunker now.
Right. So, Jen, how do you want to do this break schedule here?
Oh, and sorry, I forgot to put the next hour. Yeah, if we could try to hit it at like 10 after.
10?
Yeah. Because we've got 3 breaks this hour.
Okay. And no live there at 10, right?
No.
Yeah. Bill, just going to 10 here.
Okay. So keep it short and sweet. Got it.
Just like you.
Yeah, that's right.
Bill, you've been accused of being broken from a Gamecock football standpoint by Will Muschamp. Did name, image, and likeness just do the same thing for the NCAA? Has Mark Emmert now been broken by name, image, and likeness and just say, you know what? You guys get it now.
Yeah, pretty much. If that's what you were looking for, yes, that's pretty much what happened yesterday. But I've talked about this. I think we've all, in a way, talked about this to some extent the last several weeks, as this is kind of broken out. And the question has been, what now? How do you try to rein this in? I thought it was going to be difficult for the NCAA. I think it's going to be difficult for anybody. But the question is, okay, how do you exactly rein this in? Well, what the answer I got yesterday, the answer that I feel I got yesterday was, yeah, we can't rein this in. So we're just going to turn everybody loose and go do your own thing and figure it out. Like, I don't know if anybody has an answer. It's the simple answer for everybody is to do what we've seen most people do on the text line and everywhere else. And that's to just simply throw your hands up in the air and basically be like, yeah, this is it. This is the end of college sports as we know it. This is the end of football. I'm not watching anymore. All right. But if you could rein it back in, if you could figure out a way to do it what exactly would you do? How would you go about doing that right now? Because I feel like that's the question that is out there. I don't have an answer for it. I don't get the impression you have an answer for it. And so I don't know what the answer is. And this is what I feel like what just happened yesterday is indeed the NCAA being like, yeah, we got no answer for it. And we know you guys are staring at us, trying to get us to answer it. And you know what? We don't know, and we're not going to do it.
It's almost like when the Supreme Court decision came down several weeks ago. And I said at the time, I'm not sure exactly what it means in the immediate future, but it did lay the groundwork for things to change dramatically in the NCAA when the Supreme Court comes out and just basically writes how the model is un-American and no other business would be able to allow to be operating like that. It seems like that basically caused the leadership to throw their hands up and say, I don't know what we can do now. It looks like we're fighting a fight that is ultimately not going to work out in our favor. So now it's time to completely restructure. This is coming from NCAA President Mark Emmert yesterday, meeting with a small group of reporters saying it's not a mandate, it's not even a recommendation, but we might want to think about decentralizing and shifting the power instead of to the NCAA, which is in charge of the numbers were ridiculous in this thing. I'm going to recheck them just because when I say it out loud, it doesn't seem to make sense that there are 450,000 athletes out there, but that's the number that seems to stick in my head right now. And that's what I'm looking at right now. 450,000 students who play sports. It was founded 115 years ago. So Mark Emmert's basically saying, well, this thing was created about year 1920. Let's think about if we come at it from 2020. How would we set things up? Which basically just means, I think we're pretty much done here. So the question is, or this is when it is time to separate things like a bunch of people have called for reform through the years, right? Mr. P says, morning from Arkansas, in the 18-wheeler, it now seems the perfect time for Power 5 to break away from the NCAA. That's what it is, right? I mean, this is almost the NCAA recommending it. I feel like it's the end of a business deal where clearly things haven't worked out and neither side necessarily wants to be the one to initiate moving in the other direction, but on one side basically says, yeah, I think that they'll be better off moving forward and the whole thing. That's what I'm getting from the NCAA right now. And I don't know how this doesn't happen, Bill, in the future with Power 5 breaking away and basically becoming its own entity just because the economics are so different and the power is there, no pun intended with the Power 5 conferences. But doesn't this have to happen now?
That's the way I view it. I mean, does it have to happen? I don't think it has to happen, but that's the way I view it. Now, what the answer is? Well, let's break this down a little more simply. You've got one sport that and I apologize to anybody whose son or daughter plays a different sport, but at least around here, the majority of the time, a lot of our conversation centers around college football. A lot of our conversation and where this is going centers around college football and how this is going to be broken down now. Because I haven't heard anybody else really get invested in other athletes signing name, image, likeness deals. And I've already forgotten his name, the 16-year-old, that wasn't a name, image, likeness deal he signed. He signed a professional contract. Was it Jalen Evans last week?
Sounds right.
16-year-old that signed with Overtime Elite. That was an actual contract. That wasn't going out and signing an endorsement. So all of our focus is on college football. So what I wonder here is, does college football now just completely become its own entity? Is it now we're at the point where college football does that, and then that's followed by college basketball? And if so, you're setting up a board of commissioners. Do you have a president? Do you have a general? A commission? I don't know. What do you do here? Are we indeed going the professional model where we're going to have a commissioner for college basketball, for college football. I'll say this: if you do get a commissioner, my opinion, if this is where it goes, I think people might be a little bit happier because I think you're going to see uniform rules and punishments across the board, much like what you see in the NBA and the NFL, and throw Major League Baseball in there. But is that the direction we're going?
It sure seems like it. After hearing Mark Emmert's comments yesterday, the NCAA president saying decentralizing power from the NCAA now seems to be the right time to do that. Would love to hear your suggestions about moving forward now in college athletics in the brave new world that it is. 803-404-6100 is the number you can call or text. It's the early game. It's 107.5 again. Mark Howard. Oh, he just had to hit it rough. How'd that work out? Looks like it worked out pretty dang good to me. And what a great time to actually go to the British Open. I'm seeing dudes in their Hawaiian shirts and shorts back there watching.
Just they're loving this weather.
And now I see Fleetwood going long sleeve jacket and pants. Makes me think those guys are in the Hawaiian shirts might be a little overly ambitious.
As close as they'll get.
Yeah, most people are in long sleeves as I look at it now.
So kind of like the guys who go to the, a game up at Lambeau or something, and they're taking their shirts off. It's like, man, we got this. We can brave it. We just want to be different.
Oh, Finau just coming up short.
Looks like what I saw in Holy Moly last night.
Rob Riggle, though, is made for a show like that.
Oh,
He
sure.
is. The chemistry between him and Tessitore is strange, though. It's like it really does look like Tessitore is just annoyed to be there, and Riggle's just doing his thing.
Right. Yeah, it is not a perfect chemistry match.
But it works. It works.
I feel like Riggle's always been that guy who hadn't quite found exactly his niche. He's a funny.
His
But
niche.
maybe that's his niche.
His niche is exactly the character he played in the first Hangover. That's just what he needs to stick with.
Yeah.
Oh, crapola.
Oh, man. Justin Thomas just sliding one by. Had a chance to go one under. Rory was +1 last I saw. Now he's on the tee. Still +1.
He knocked it into the bunker a minute ago. He knocked his second on a par 5 into the bunker. He must have made par.
Nice that one.
All right, let's see here. So, Yeah, Thomas. I'm looking at this picture here. Thomas is the kid who committed to South Carolina. Has got a picture with two of the
We're about to
Gamecock
come back
players
in.
holding national championship trophies. I don't know exactly who that is.
About
Just a little less than a minute. So you'll come
Got
back.
it.
You'll set it up.
Oh wait, we're coming back now and then go into the.
Yeah. You're up.
Boy, did we screw it up, Bill. This was the time to make the trip over to the British Open. First of all, I think we could have gotten cheaper airfare, right? Cheaper travel rates coming off of all the restrictions. And
I don't think you've tried to travel if you think everything is cheaper right now.
no, well, what if we had bought months ago, right? We had bought
Exactly.
to England a couple of months ago would have been the time to do it. We should have known then that the weather was going to be ideal. I mean, we got guys in Hawaiian shirts hanging out, in shorts, watching the British Open right now instead of just pounding rain and sideways wind in the whole thing.
Yeah, but Tim, I think that's part of it. The British Open's not an every year deal. Like, I think if you go, you got to experience. Kind of like going to Lambeau. If I go to Lambeau, I want to experience snow and rain.
Let's hear from the pros.
I should have come back to the live stream. I forgot Jen's counting us down on there. I was doing it on my computer.
Not a good face for me.
Yeah, it happens.
How to make it good on the miss. It's higher up at the manufacturer compared to Shambo to an 8.
I see where Morikawa just got back to 10 under. So the ESPN update is ahead of the ESPN scores. If I click on the update, it's ahead of what you and I are watching on television.
Yeah, that's odd, huh? Other side of 2021 technology.
Yeah.
Jim, we're just going to come back cold. Is that right? From Sunday?
I have a rejoin.
Nice work. Well, did you end up taking shot fly, Jim?
I did.
He just made a putt. Get the +2. He's got a long way to go.
I'll take it.
38 in front.
Get a little picture of this.
Download the TuneIn app so you can take 107.5 The Game with you wherever you go. And now, back to the early game, for better or worse, with Tim and Bill.
Guys, rip.
Hope your Friday is off to a good start. Don't know if you're jumping around or not, but if you can and that's appropriate, go right ahead. Heading into the weekend as college football season continues to creep closer and closer. We'll have SEC Media Day coverage for you starting on Monday with Shane Beamer and the South Carolina contingent of Nick Muse and JJ Enagbare making a trip over to Birmingham and helping to lead things off. Keith Klein will be live on location, and we will be what I don't think we can hear. What I absolutely will just get completely grizzled on, Bill, is when questions get posed to these coaches, which they inevitably will, especially after NCAA President Mark Emmert came out yesterday and said, it's probably time to decentralize the NCAA and figure this thing out a little differently. If we hear from these multi-million-dollar coaches that that's above their pay grade, I'm going to have a problem with that. That figuring all this stuff out that's for somebody else and it's above my pay grade and they just completely ignore it. I'm focused on getting our team better and come on. we got to get some kind of perspective, especially from a guy like Nick Saban, who has said in the past that he's interested in being college football's czar one day. But I can totally see these guys trying to completely sidestep it and say that's not my focus right now on the whole thing. It's complicated and very tricky. And how do you think they will approach these coaches when asked about it next week, Bill?
No, I'm fascinated to hear that, because I feel like this was such a big curveball yesterday in terms of the NCAA basically stepping away that I don't know what coaches are going to say. I don't know how they're going to approach it. This is a little bit different than talking about what your own school is going to do. You know, you can kind of see each coach maybe kind of huddling with the athletic director for a moment before hopping on the flight out to Birmingham and saying, all right, you know, just any last minute tips on what I should say, or any just talking points, anything that I should just make sure to reiterate. Yeah, you can do that with your athletic director, maybe with your school president. The NCAA just threw a big curveball yesterday, basically throwing their hands up and saying, maybe we should just decentralize everything, and you guys create your own autonomous sport off to the side over there. Leave us to govern some other things. I'm kind of fascinated to see what coaches are going to say. Shane Beamer's a first-time coach. No offense to him. His opinion doesn't carry as much weight as, say, a Nick Saban, who's going to have an opinion on this, or, you know, Mike Gundy. I don't know if Mike Gundy spoke yesterday. Pictures were circulating. I don't know if the Big 12's having their kind of meetings right now, because pictures were circulating yesterday and people were in a tizzy on Twitter that Mike Gundy was no longer rocking the mullet. So I didn't see anything come across yesterday where I guess the coaches were talking. I saw some stuff about the Big 12 frowning upon the horns down and a few things like that. But I guess my point on this is, as some of the bigger name coaches get out there and you hear them weigh on what the NCAA did, I'm way more fascinated now to hear the big name coaches talk about what the NCAA did as opposed to what their own school's going to do. Because this is now the future of the sport. And I feel like I'm sounding very dramatic, but I also feel like it's accurate to sound dramatic in this situation. It's okay to sound dramatic when the NCAA, the governing body, basically comes out and goes, yeah, I don't know. We got no clue. And maybe it's time to just decentralize and move forward.
I don't agree. I mean, I don't disagree with that. But why is it now the time to do that as opposed to like coming out now and saying, hey, guys, we have a 450,000 athletes under our purview, the 350 plus Division I schools alone. Now's the time to because of this name, image, likeness thing. I mean, that's exactly why, right? I mean, the timing cannot be ignored. The Supreme Court decision coming out several weeks ago, maybe it's about a month ago now, and ruling 9-0 against the NCAA has a lot to do with this. But I feel like Jay Phillips has had this discussion for a long time now about the autonomy of the Power Five and what that will mean, and moving forward. It's baffling that you kind of come to this, especially knowing how college coaches especially talk about how you got to overcome obstacles and rise to the challenge and the whole thing. And then the people that are in charge of college sports are faced with the largest challenge. And then their response is, yeah, we probably need to think about doing it a little differently. But it seems to be kind of inevitable right now that this is what's going to happen. And I don't think it will necessarily be a bad thing for college sports, because we've seen head scratch decisions from the NCAA, and we've seen a program like North Carolina basketball, I think, is the main one that a lot of people around here point to immediately and say, hey, they were able to get away with it and nothing happened. And then you've been able to see other instances where you don't quite understand why programs get hit pretty hard for things that didn't seem nearly as egregious as making up courses for national championship teams and their guys to take and get away with it. So I don't know where it goes now, but Bill, I find it hard to believe that you won't have a Power Five power structure and then everything else, at least when it comes to college football, because there's so much money involved right now. And there's seemingly so many extra issues to regulate with name, image, and likeness popping up. And right now, there's just nothing. And to me, it's the combination of capitalism and competition where it's not a good combination right now. Like, I think most of us want to see people in our country be able to make as much money as possible. And then you also don't want to see programs buying college players and just a complete unfair or unbalanced playing field out there, and figuring out how you can have both of those right now is a difficult challenge for sure. We see on the left phone lines at 803-404-6100. You can take a quick break before we get to you right now. Plenty more discussion about what the heck the NCAA is going to do, as their president came out and said, decentralizing, that's probably the way we need to go. It's the early game here on 105 again.
They're hungry, they're driven, and not just going out there and some guy that has a famous last name.
Oh, we got SEC Media Days next week. That's the unofficial kickoff of football season. Maybe for you, that means the unofficial start to the fall, and a good time to get your house back looking its best. Let Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning do that for you. They've done it for me. Been out to my house a couple of different times. Done a great job cleaning my carpets. Cleaned an area rug for me in my living room. Also freshened up the tile in both the kitchen and my bathroom. Did a great job. Great results. I expected some great results from a professional carpet and air duct cleaning company. What I didn't expect was to see and get to know, familiarize myself with the exact process that Zero Res goes through. It's a patented powered water system. You can find out all the details at ZeroResColumbia.com. What especially impressed me, and is important to me in my house right now, no harsh chemicals involved in that process. So nothing for me to worry about when it comes to my 1-year-old right now inevitably picking up food and putting it in his mouth, or sometimes not food, on the floor, and just checking it out. No harsh chemicals involved. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That means my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. Again, you can book your appointment today. ZeroResColumbia.com. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Oh, looking good out there, that view.
Yeah, it is. Save to draft. Please contact support. What is? Hey, Jen, is she doing something?
Doing a traffic update.
Jen, I just sent you a text message. I got an issue with my email. Morikawa's back to 9. I need to come up with a plan for where I'm going to watch most of the Open today. What do you think? Take the iPad out on the boat because I've got unlimited streaming or something? Take the iPad, just set it on the boat, kind of float around. I'd go up to LJ's, get some lunch. Just sit here at the house on the back porch with the 43-inch, the 50-inch, whatever TV I put outside.
Sounds like good options everywhere.
All the kids go back to their mom. I'm kid free this weekend. Look out, world.
I will be cursing your name driving to the beach with 3 kids.
Oh, y'all are heading back down?
Screaming 1-year-old. Yep.
You just got to turn around every 5 minutes and say, if you don't stop, I'm turning the car around. We're going back home.
It doesn't quite work with a 1-year-old.
Is he at that age? Is he got teeth now? I guess he has teeth because he's just like, is that?
I think one more is on its way in.
Oh boy.
Always one more, which is causing the issue.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm always like, oh, next week when that tooth comes, it'll be better.
There's one of the kids right there. What are you doing, child? Good job. She's throwing something away, everybody. I've raised
Love
her.
that.
Yes, she's mini bites. The 12-year-old daughter has gotten totally invested in avocado toast. Huh? Just avocado? I said avocado. All right, I have an English major. Not only do I catch grief from y'all on how to pronounce stuff, I'm catching it from the 12-year-old on how
Does
to
she say
pronounce
it should be
avocado.
avocado?
Huh?
Correct. Avocado?
Avocado. Do I go or avocado?
Ah.
Avocado.
Is that what she's saying?
There's also an avocado.
Oh my gosh.
So she's been eating avocado toast and then cold brew Starbucks cold brew, house stuff, and she puts caramel in there and whipped cream.
So she's your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then I got the other one here. What you been playing? Oh, we got to pre-order Madden. No, I'll do it this weekend. He's ready to pre-order Madden.
Don't let him call you the other one, Austin.
That's right.
We got to get him a hair. Oh, see?
There he is.
Got to get him a haircut. We got to go see our stylist, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, we need to
No,
put some
you
lotion
can't have
on
a
your legs.
stylist.
You need anything else?
Oh, no, good.
Okay. You want an avocado? No, okay. He doesn't do the avocado stuff. He's a very straightforward kid. He's the Tim Hill of the family.
Cereal.
He does mini bites.
Oh,
Their taste for mini bites, those little mini bites you can buy. I just, you go to they've always got like 2 boxes for $5 or something. And so I picked up Little Debbie mini bites last week. Normally I get Intamins, but I was just walking through the store. That's what they had for sale. So both of the kids were giving me a breakdown on how the Little Debbie mini bites, chocolate chip mini bites, did not taste as good as the Intamins, and I should not be purchasing those anymore.
Okay.
It was for chocolate chip mini bites, 5 to a pack. It was quite the it was quite the breakdown of what was wrong there.
Wow.
learn from the best.
It's true.
High maintenance. So now I have
Sounds
to
like your breakdown of coffee
Learn from the best.
creamers.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right, just thinking
Wait.
here, you would like us to break at 7:40?
Yes, I was going to actually discuss that with you. If we can get in at 7:40, that would be mucho fantastic. That should give you a chance to bring in the open.
All right, and Ray's still there on the phone?
And Ray is still here.
Okay. Jen, did you see that text message?
I did. I've already sent it.
Okay, thank you. I'll text him there.
I said your son is a moron, so I'm having to send this.
It has nothing to do with.
I didn't type that.
Just said it out loud.
That way, of course, I guess this is
No evidence.
recorded, so it could be held against me.
No evidence.
About to hit the rejoin.
And Bill, you got Crowder going into the break.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, going in.
Correct.
Oh, Travis, yeah, they do mine do a good job of that. Plate.
Yeah, is there-
I feel like this happens nearly every Friday on the PGA Tour. It looks like somebody in the middle of their round is going to run away with the tournament. It's like now Colin Morikawa coming back to the rest of the field a little bit anyway, and not going to go for 30 under. Louis Oosthuizen British Open beat from several years ago. That's good news for those of us who like to see a more competitive major golf tournament, and the last one of the year especially. We'll continue to discuss and keep you updated on the British Open. Your next Westwood One update coming up at 7:46 in 11 minutes from now. Right now, though, wanted to get out to the Love Chevy phone lines, continue our discussion about where we sit right now with the NCAA. It is
something unlike we have ever seen, with name, image, and likeness popping up, I guess, for a couple of weeks now in, and then NCAA President Mark Emmert yesterday coming out and mentioning the possibility from his standpoint as the NCAA president of now decentralizing this thing and putting the power back to conferences and teams. Ray would like to weigh in on the Love Chevy phone lines this morning. Hey, Ray.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. It does seem like every time we get a message from the NCAA about this, to me, they're kind of distancing themselves. They kind of like, it's like they'll say that old bad prom date. I kind of got to get out of this mess, and I realize that this INL is very convoluted and complicated, but it seems like since, like you said, last month when and we're not talking about a league office or a compliance office of a league or state. We're talking about the United States Supreme Court kind of sent a real stern message. And since that stern message, it's almost like they don't want to deal with it. So I'm not one for over-regulation, but I think it's going to come down where they're not going to have any regulation. And this thing is truly going to be the wild, wild west. And if you're not going to regulate it, it's not going to be – you're not breaking any laws or any rules. But I do think and I'm not going to blame Emmert because he's just doing the work of these school presidents and ADs. But it does make the NCAA look very weak, I think, and I think it's a bad message for them. But to me, it's almost like they're doing everything they can to distance themselves from the NIL, and it's almost like they don't even want to mention it. They're just hoping it goes away, but it's not going away. But anyway, that's how I see it.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the phone call. Mike weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, same number, 404-6100. Do we see a time, Mike asks, where a player chooses his school, and when asked why that school, the student athlete responds, because they can pay me the most money in endorsements? If we see that, does this kill our spirit for college sports? I don't know, Bill, because we all know this has happened so many times, that a player chooses a school because he gets the best deal at that school. We just haven't had it in our face. So is this one of those things where if it's talked about and everything's above board, that we have to deal with it and respond accordingly, as opposed to being able to just let it go and not talk about the elephant in the room that everybody knows about, strong offers being put out there with a college coach being on an FBI tape about a strong offer. And we all understand that that's not a good dorm room or excellent meals in the school cafeterias.
Well, that's all been there's multiple ways to view that, and because it's all been just hearsay. It's all been talked about. Oh yeah, we assumed this happened and that happened, and then when it all comes out, when we find out Mississippi under Hugh Freeze was just paying players off left and right, we all act shocked. Can't believe that happened in the sport that I love. But we all hear about it. What was the article? Do you remember the article several years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago? It was called The Bag Man. I think it ran on Bleacher Report or something. I'm trying to think of the guy who did it. He used a bunch of anonymous sources. And to me, it was the world's dumbest article, because it basically was saying what most of us who really follow college football recruiting and everything already know. It just wasn't putting anything behind it. It was just like, well, these anonymous sources have told me that they gathered together to get money to purchase recruits. And you're like, yeah, that's what we all think happens. Let's get a little bit more substance there. This situation's a little bit different. And I think, when you talk name, image, likeness, will that happen? The scenario that Ray just brought up where somebody says, yeah, it will. So at some point, too many recruits out there. One player is going to say it at some point. And when that happens, I still don't think you act completely shocked.
Do Steelers or Cowboys fans, Tim and Chapin asks, seem like their spirit's been killed because of the money factor? Please. Everyone's overreacting about how money will influence college athletics. The fans will still be there and still be just as rabid. I tend to agree with where he's coming from on this one, because is this going to affect the product on the field? Is 2001 going to be any different for Gamecock fans? Because guys have signed for endorsement deals and are making a little bit of money on the side, or even making a lot of money. 803-404-6100 if you have an opinion. British Open update on the way, due in 6 minutes. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Clear.
Dan Patrick. Weekdays 9 until noon.
Lot going on this weekend. You're going to watch it probably from the comfort of your house. You got some basketball, NBA Final Zone. You got the golf taking place. Maybe you're going to get into the NASCAR race. There's a whole bunch of things that you can watch this weekend from the comfort of your own home. You know what makes your home even more comfortable? Lowering your interest rate, saving money, having a lower monthly payment. And with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, you can do just that. Give him a phone call today, 803-719-1005. Brian Kovar joining the Guru team recently, so that they've got two people that can help all of the folks across the Midlands who are now looking to refinance, save a little money. And if you got some equity, get a little money back. They got one of their friends down in North Augusta who recently wanted to do that. He actually was refinancing with them, got some money back, and is putting in a basketball court in his backyard for his son. Look at your mortgage statement, check and see what it says, and then give Jacob and Brian a call, 803-719-1005. You can email Jacob, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Let me run upstairs real quick. Yeah, and Travis, I agree. The sink, the plates in the sink is becoming very important around here.
Bump Bill out of there. Sun started up there. I'm still watching this British Open here.
I feel like I need to be hitting the golf clap a little bit more.
Or else, good question, man. What do you need the NCAA for? Basically, as a clearinghouse to clear players that they're eligible. But I think from the college football standpoint, it's always been that you can tell on your rival for cheating and hope to get something done.
Yeah, yeah, we could discuss that. The trade.
The race with Jock Peterson.
Yeah.
Remember that guy a couple years ago was at the home run derby, and I think he has a younger brother with special needs. Like holding him up and the whole thing. Seemed to be a good dude.
Yeah, we'll see how he does in Atlanta.
Oh, he's set up to fail. Can't be Acuna. Good luck.
Sure.
And if he doesn't get them in contention, they'll just say, "Oh, that was a waste." But they'll probably just ship him on to the next place. If they don't.
Yeah, I saw that they could kind of flip him for a prospect or something.
Morning, Whit. Got Fort Worth, Texas in the house this morning.
So we're just going to end up going straight to the report.
Okay, you don't need us.
Don't need you. Pretty typical. Maybe just a few seconds, but it's all right. 2, 2, 1.
Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the 149.
Nice work.
So we'll just do the typical rejoin.
So Van Tonder is in at 600. Good morning, Whit.
I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
Hey, Jack, did the Gomez files come in? For Lucy's law firm, finding the perfect Spanish-speaking paralegal feels like an unwinnable case. The case documents are in Spanish. I asked my always too rusty for this. Indeed can help her hire great people fast. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Enjoy a powerful business upgrade with Dell Technologies Black Friday and July event. Get amazing savings with up to 50% off high-performance computers and tech built for business, and be able to take your office with you with a Windows 10 Pro. Plus, get great offers on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and more, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL, and speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today. Broadcasting live from the Heritage Chevrolet Studios. This is 105 The Game. At Heritage Chevrolet, our first price is always our best price. So come visit our showroom and see why Heritage Chevrolet makes you smile. Download the TuneIn app so you can take 107.5 The Game with you wherever you go. And now, back to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
You guys are up.
Hope your Friday morning's rolling well. You're rolling into the weekend in a good mood with some British Open golf to watch this weekend. Bill's enjoying the beautiful view of Lake Murray. Put that up on social media at Will Gunter. With 1L, I just put up my beautiful view to rival that as well on Twitter. You guys can imagine even more. Even if you are checking out the video stream on Facebook and YouTube Live, Twitter as well, you can get a larger sense for how we're experiencing life and coming to you this morning on Friday. You're
Got a
looking
can
at
of tennis balls right there.
Yeah,
Can of
yeah,
tennis
got
balls.
the
Looks
king
like
tennis
maybe a
balls.
motorcycle right there. I can't tell what the shiny thing is there in front of you.
I think that is the stroller attachment for a little mirror for the 1-year-old.
Okay, all right.
We're living big life here. Living big life this
I'm
morning.
just impressed that in your 2-car garage you can park 2 cars. That's
That has always been that has been the win. When we figured that out for the first, when we moved in and we were finally able to get both cars in the garage, that was a big win. And then we upgraded to the minivan, and I couldn't figure out how to get the minivan in the garage. That took a few months, but we finally figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Not the
Impressive.
quickest guy.
Three car garage. I can park one, and it's not even mine.
Yeah, but how many like?
But you got a lot of lawn equipment.
I was gonna say, like, how many riding tractors do you have? And
Those stand-up tractors.
I would do a tour, but it would just be embarrassing, the amount of storage cabinets and like I just. I'm still married. That's all I can say.
Most people, most women, I think, show back up to the house with a stray animal. Like, can we keep this, honey? Can we keep this? Jen shows up with a stray tractor. And it's like, hey, it was just hanging out in the farm. Like, I just brought it home. It won't hurt anybody.
It looked so lonely. Now we're the house that looks like, oh, I can't find this, so I should go get 5 more. You know, like 15 tape measures. You know, that kind of a house. Yeah.
I don't know. You might need multiple things for the thing. Time for the Power 5 to start a coup, Will says. Time for the Power 5 to start a coup. Coming off of yesterday's conversation or comments, I guess I should say, from Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, saying that it might be time to decentralize things. A coup, though, as I understand it, Bill, is when a small group overthrows the group in power, not when the group in power just throws their hands up and says, you know what, now might be the time that we're about done. I don't think coup is what we're looking at here with the Power 5 or the Division I or whoever conferences, whatever power structure college sports ends up going with from here. If it's not going to be some kind of hostile takeover, this is going to be more of the NCAA just ceding that power, just giving it over, saying, hey, you guys figure this out. It's gotten too big. You know, eggs were too big to fail in our country several years ago. Now this is the opposite. Too big to manage. Can't do it anymore. Or don't want to do it anymore is probably the likelier way to put that, or the better description of where things are with the NCAA, with the ruling against them from the Supreme Court several weeks ago, and now name, image, and likeness. Really, it's uncontrollable in a lot of ways, isn't it, Bill? It's seemingly uncontrollable in a lot of ways because of just the nature of capitalism in my mind. Like, if businesses want to enter into deals with student athletes and that's allowed now, well, what kind of restrictions can you really put into place that student athletes would agree to at this point? Especially how it started with no restrictions. How do you, like you talked about putting the toothpaste back in the tube, how do you do that without getting countersued and the whole thing? And then it's just a matter of time till NCAA athletes form basically a players union like we see in professional sports, right? To have someone basically advocate for them as a group and make sure they're not being taken advantage of, or they're getting everything out there that they deserve, which right now seems to be almost anything. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, again, my personal opinion is that we'll end up seeing sports are the different, you know, basketball, football, baseball, golf, whatever, tennis, go through all the sports, end up dividing into almost their own separate leagues where they're governed by a commissioner. Will that make people happy? Some people, yes. Then you'll probably have some of those people that freak out and say, oh, that's it, I'm never watching this again. Then they'll creep back in and watch it and not tell anybody. But I think that's where you're going to have to go on this. If the NCAA is not going to step up and provide guidance, then you've got to have it from somewhere else. And right now, I think college football is the one who's at least started to prepare themselves. The evolution of college football, remember, I think this all starts. College football, the one we really care about, starts in what, Tim, 4 years? When they redo the college football playoff. We'll talk a little bit about that in hour number 3.
30.
Yeah, but they're going to set it up well before then, right? And I feel like if we sit here this time next year and they still haven't figured out a way to structure things moving forward, I'd be very surprised.
15.
You gotta get a handle on this to some extent. in the relative near future, just to manage it in some degree. I feel like we'll try to manage it. Coming up next year on the early game.
This is Gamecock Athletics Director, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game.
Oh, where? All right. I'm going to get a little bit more coffee, and then I'm going to make the switch to water.
Big choices.
Big choices. Big day. Big day.
What are they saying about Brady playing with a torn MCL now?
Uh-oh.
So yeah, just reading this article now saying that Brady had torn MCL all season long.
Really?
Said he actually injured it in his last season, the Patriots, and it just got worse and worse. Same knee that he tore his ACL in back in 08.
Who?
Tom Brady.
So at this point, you can't do anything with that.
Well, I think he had surgery on it this past season, or
Oh, okay.
after the Super Bowl. He told his quarterbacks coach that he was going to get his knee better. They're not saying if he had surgery or not.
Okay. I'd say definitely too late now.
Right.
And Travis is correct. The Cubs. Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Bill, maybe we'll start hour 3 with a little Big 12 media days and the old Texas thing.
Okay.
Sure.
All righty. What are we going to do 10 again?
Yep. Do 10 after again, Jen, with the break.
Yes, please.
All righty. Tim, that actually worked perfect when the days Heath are taking off because that's the first day of school for the kids, so that'll allow me to take them.
So are you good filling in all 4 of those days?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Sweet.
The only one that might be in question was Friday, but I think I'll let you know Monday on that.
Gotcha.
But I think what I was going to do. I'm looking at July.
can talk about it after the show.
Yeah, there might not be a need to talk about it. I was just looking back now.
I'm going to run and grab some coffee and water now.
Go do it. One more hour.
I was looking at the Carolina schedule because my son starts there, in the fall.
Uh-huh.
And first day of classes, his birthday,
What is that?
August 23rd.
So the kids start. So he starts the following week. Mansley and Austin start school again the 17th.
Okay.
It feels so close, yet it's about a month away. But I guess the way my brain works, for the next 2 weeks, I know what's going on, and then there's a basketball camp that Austin's in, and then there's 1 week left, and we're done.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe. Still working on trying to figure out where, might put him in an apartment someplace. Trying to figure all that out right now.
I would probably say the bet. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm open to suggestions.
Huh?
I said I am open to suggestions.
Well, it just makes it more difficult. But I was going to say probably the best decision is for just the first semester, so you can have a little bit of you can watch. Is to have him just the first semester, keep him at home. Unless he's taking ADM classes. I mean, we lived in Governor's Grant, and that was where I lived for the first year.
Yeah.
Before I ended up downtown. But it just, he'll have friends he can stay with downtown, but you can get a little bit more a lay of the landscape before you just jump into something.
Yeah. Well, and he did go to Midlands. Like, he's already gotten.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he has some experience. So I feel like, he might be okay.
So Tim, my new health kick is avocados. I think you were out. Yep, that's the new health kick. Avocado and eggs in the morning.
Nice.
Not bad.
We're going to try and get healthy somewhat. I mean, it's not like I ballooned up and was walking around huge, but we got a little over 165.
All right, get ready to go in the open.
All those boneless chicken wings I ate when we all hung out.
That's it.
Do we have any mangoes left? Take a little bit of a mango too. Okay.
What, do you have a server?
What?
Do you have a server or something? Are you placing an order?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody just coming through the house.
Right, you're up.
So in a way, this is already happening, right? The Big 12 media days, they come out and say, oh, poor Texas. We can't have these other schools going around and putting their index and pinky finger the wrong way. Otherwise, they're going to get penalized 15 yards. So in a way, conferences have always had a certain amount of power, Bill. But with the NCAA president, Mark Emmert, coming down yesterday and saying, maybe we should decentralize the NCAA, they're just going to take it to a whole new level, right? Is that where we are?
Which one are you talking about, the Big 12 or the NCAA? We're in a very wild time, buddy, and my focus, to be honest with you, centers around the now what will be the change of college football. I don't know how basketball changes that much, but This to me centers around the change in what college football will look like in 6 or 7 years. And not that this is not it's going to be a minor league system for the NFL. Look, it's already been that. I mean that's what it is. It's training grounds for the NFL. My question is, do we still have all the levels that we have? Do we still have the bowl system? What does the college football playoff look like? Will there be another round of expansion to include teams in it? Do we go to a Power 6 instead of a Power 5? There's things like that yesterday with the NCAA that get my mind turning on what college football looks like, what college sports look like now moving forward. And that's where we're at. And then you got the Big 12 yesterday, as you said. And look, in the spirit of the game, you don't want – I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what the Big 12 said yesterday about the horns down sign. Count me in. I'm all right with this.
I'm sorry, why in the spirit of the game? You of all people, I thought you would be all for Baker Mayfield going and giving the horns down sign. I'm confused about where you're coming from on this.
But the Greg Burks, coordinator of officials, said yesterday. He said, let me put it this way. If you do a horns down to a Texas player as an opponent, that's probably going to be a foul. Burke said if a player turned to the crowd to throw the sign, it probably would not be a penalty. All he's saying is, don't taunt your opposition. We're okay with that's the same. All it is this. You're just adding the horns down sign. It's a penalty already if a wide receiver catches a 50-yard touchdown, and for the last 5 yards he runs backwards, points at the defensive back, and lets him know that the defensive back just got burnt. What are they doing? Mm-hmm. They're throwing a flag, right? Mm-hmm. This all it is we're just in the spirit of the taunting rule. Just because it's the horns down thing, it's the same thing. They're not saying, you can't do the horns down. They're not saying Will Grier can't run around the left end like he did 3 or 4 years ago, go into the end zone and give the horns down to the crowd. They're okay with that. Don't turn it around and do it to the linebacker, defensive back line, defensive lineman. That's okay, right? You're not taking away. You can run, you can score a touchdown. You can stand on the sidelines and do it until your heart's content. You can horns down the entire stadium. You just can't do it to a Texas player. And that's the same thing as if a Texas linebacker blitzes, sacks the quarterback, and stands over him, like we used to see Miami football players do. So I'm okay with this. Well, all they're doing is putting some clarity to it and saying, don't give the horns down sign to an actual Texas player. That's okay.
So what if you do it into the camera and all the Texas players can obviously see it on the replay or the video board?
Hey, it's their job not to look up at the replay board during the game. They need to be focused on what's happening.
I get why this really rubs people the wrong way in the Big 12. Why does Texas get a little extra something here and other programs don't? Well, the easy answer is that's an iconic symbol of Texas, right? That they've been doing that annoying thing. I lived out in Texas for 3 years, from 2000 to 2003, and met several Texas grads, worked with several, and there's always that. They love flashing the horns, man. They love flashing the horns. So I think it's caught up to them. And as long as they legislate it, as long as they call it, like you just mentioned, consistently. But I think that's a tough spot to put in your officials for having to make that judgment call a bunch of times during a football game that's going 1,000 miles an hour and a lot of stuff's going on. Good luck with that, Big 12. But my point was, if the Big 12 is doing this on its own, right? This is an NCAA rule.
Right.
Big 12 is doing this on its own. Why not figure out your own name, image, and likeness policy there, Big 12? Keep it going. Why stop there? And that's basically what the NCAA president, Mark Emmert's saying, is that probably needs to happen at this point with the NCAA, because clearly unprepared to have any kind of control on this name, image, likeness deal. And when the president of an organization comes out and talks about decentralizing that organization, I feel like it's over. It's done.
But listen, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Let's not act like this didn't happen last year. The NCAA didn't step in with COVID regulation for the entire college football community. Matter of fact, they backed out. The SEC had one, the ACC had one, the Big Ten had one. That's why we had so many problems keeping a simple South Carolina Clemson rivalry game intact. The conferences stepped in and did this. So the precedent has been set. Now we move forward with what happens next.
Good point for Travis. We see opposing players doing the Gator chomp. Nothing's ever said. I think SEC's maybe a little less sensitive than the Big 12.
It's true, but when
Texas is a little more sensitive.
Oh, when Florida throws a shoe after a big stop, they do get penalized. That's
a good point. You can chomp as much as you want. Just keep your shoes on. That's the new slogan. Just means more with your shoes on. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join the program, love to hear from you via the phone or text message. Same number there, 404-6100. British Open update due in 6 minutes at 8:16. Colin Morikawa has finished up his round, a stellar one at that, and is out to a comfortable lead in the second round of the British. More on that coming up. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Oh, you can't throw up a peace sign in anybody's face either. You can't taunt the opponent. Although it would be wildly hilarious if somebody could throw up the middle finger in somebody's sign, but you can't do the whole down sign.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking. Another hand gesture that you can do.
That actually would be funny. You can give them the middle finger all you want. You just can't give them the horns down sign. Was it flashing?
Yeah.
Clearance sale on hundreds of Rams. HTG Ram Lexington and Dodge Lane on great stuff. This sale isn't open to other dealers. New Rams up to 30.
Let's see how bad it gets if I do this for a second.
So what I'm doing is what I'm sure everybody does when your housekeeper comes over and you clean up a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
Does anybody else do that? I'm just moving stuff outside.
Impressive.
So that she can actually clean everything. Or am I the only one that cleans before the housekeeper comes?
It's Witt, located in Fort Worth, with aggressive Texas take this morning.
It's going to be a humid one today.
On the left.
Trey says his wife does do that, Bill. You're not alone.
We are not here on this.
Hope has a different take. I feel like we've now opened Mary Poppins' bag, and you're just going to keep on pulling stuff out.
So the update will be within the break, and then there's one more spot that has to come after it.
Thank you.
Does that work? No flashing
No.
there.
Looks good now.
Yeah, I can't see your face, so
Why'd you give me thumbs up? I was giving you 2 fingers. You know,
you're giving me thumbs up.
you don't know it's dark.
No, I can see that clearly.
Of course, Jen's an expert in when being given the middle finger. I see.
What is a Midwest sports film?
Oh, I'd say Field of Dreams.
Yeah, say
But-
that.
It starts in Boston, doesn't it?
But it ends up in Iowa.
It ends up in Boston. Where it goes
Well,
back.
Aren't they supposed to be doing that? Aren't they supposed to be doing that Field of Dreams game like next weekend or something?
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yep. Hoosiers is a good one.
Yeah, Hoosiers is all I was coming up with.
But that's not a West sports film. That is a sports film that happens to take place in the Midwest.
Yeah, Rudy's a good one. Yeah, Midwest.
Same thing. There's no Midwest films. Like I wouldn't call White Man Can't Jump a West Coast sports film. It's a
I
sport.
would. It happens
Mighty
in California.
Ducks is a unbelievable. All right. Sounds like Trey, you guys are running out of things to talk about.
There you go.
DC, do you use that line at home? Is my question.
Does Mighty Ducks qualify as a Midwest? Yeah. Okay. Trey said Mighty Ducks. Yeah. Okay.
Minnesota. Cover
Sure.
that's up in. But I mean, even if it's based in the Midwest, there's a good or supposed to be based in the Midwest, there's a good chance it wasn't filmed in the Midwest too.
Right. Rookie of the year, that has to be a Midwest sports movie, right? Since he played for the Cubs.
Good one. That's a good one.
And what was the other one? Little Big League? That was Minnesota Twins, right?
Oh, you know what
Yeah.
we watched last night? Ansley watched it, and she actually really liked it. The Sandlot.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, my kids have watched it too.
She liked it. Yeah, Sandlot. Sandlot, I think, is considered. Sandlot is Sandlot in the based out. Where is it?
I think it's West Coast. Benny the Jet played for the Dodgers.
We played for the Dodgers, and Smalls ends up being their announcer.
It was an East Coast, West Coast film. We all know that.
Oh, East Coast, West Coast.
There comes it.
Did you see? You know, it's loosely based on a true story. You know that?
What, Sandlot?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the character that played Squints, or the guy, the character they based it off of, came back and sued the director in the movie for money because he said it ruined his life.
Dang. We're heading back in.
Yeah, they do move to the Los Angeles suburbs.
Jen, when do you want us to break here?
Let's try for like 39.
All right.
All right. Guys, we're up.
I believe Travis had this take earlier on the live video stream, up and rolling, Facebook, YouTube Live, Twitter as well. The station handles at 1075 The Game, where you can find us. Is it better to have a younger coach in college sports right now with all the flux that feel like is going on, name, image, likeness stuff? NCAA President Mark Emmert yesterday saying it might be time to decentralize the power and send it back to the conferences and the whole thing. Does Shane Beamer have a bit of an advantage over, say, a Nick Saban who's been doing it forever and been doing it one way, in that there isn't that structure necessarily set, or maybe adjustments can be made a little bit easier? Bill, are you on that line of thinking, or do you think ultimately, I guess Mark hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. He said if he was a coach, he wouldn't spend a second worried about any of this stuff. It's all about coaches spending their time more for the X's and O's, and it's not their problem. Where are you in this?
There's got to be some level of forward thinking here, but I don't. Is that just limited to young coaches because they're younger and they can be a little bit more progressive? I mean, are you telling me that older coaches, Mac Brown, Nick Saban, can't make adjustments because they're 65 plus and they're not as forward thinking as guys like Shane Beamer and Lane Kiffin and Dabo Swinney? Josh Heupel, throw him in there, young coach at Tennessee. I don't know if I believe that. I also think the athletic department as a whole has to be forward thinking. It's great if you have a coach, a coach that's saying, let's do this, let's do that. But if the athletic department is not behind it, I don't think it's going to work, right? Shane Beamer, there's a lot of things I think because both the rules are so loose and because there's such weird little things about, you can't talk about this in recruiting. Well, anybody who follows sports and really follows recruiting knows that this conversation is going to be brought up with a recruit and a college coach. It doesn't mean it's going to be publicized. You're not supposed to talk about name, image, likeness with a recruit. But Tim, we all know they have those Sunday. You have an official visit weekend on Sunday. You meet with the head coach for kind of your goodbye, your wrap-up visit. It's hard to believe that a mother, father, guardian, mentor, player is not going to say, so what if y'all got lined up for players to help with name, image, likeness? Now,
it's not hard to believe. They wouldn't be doing their due diligence, right?
That's it.
Have to do that now. And then there's a this is going to be the new example of coaches not being able to talk about recruits. Another outdated NCAA rule that is completely a workaround on Twitter when you retweet a guy's verbal commitment, right? But you can't talk about him specifically in name, but you just describe him. Basically, that's what's been happening for years and years. This will be just that. Well, we have a situation set up that is very favorable. We have examples of X, Y, and Z, right? And we feel like because your player profile is very similar to player X, that the opportunity might just be there for your name, image, and likeness to be utilized in that way. Well, then everybody gets the wink, wink. Hey, this is exactly going to be this is exactly the offer, and this is going to be what it entails. And especially now that we're getting more details about this, right? These are out in the open, at least. It just leads to a completely different structure and conversation. I guess maybe it's not even completely different. It is just done more on the up and up than it ever has been before. And we, as the general public and college football fans, will know about certain things much more than we have in the past, where there have been rumors and fan bases and pointing fingers and the whole thing. I feel like the Cam Newton situation with Mississippi State may be the most publicized over the last decade plus. But how it continues to evolve, nobody has a good handle on right now. And that's where I think it's got to be massively concerning from an athletic department standpoint right now, sitting in Ray Tanner's seat from the Gamecock perspective, to hear Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, come out yesterday and say, yep, now's probably the time we need to look at restructuring, unless this has already been talked about behind closed doors, and I find it hard to believe that it hasn't to some extent anyway, Bill, with the Power Five and the autonomy and the college football playoff already being its own entity and the whole deal. It's just that we aren't sure exactly how this thing is going to move forward. I think that's why yesterday was maybe a little alarming, shocking to some degree to hear the president of the NCAA come out and say, yeah, it's time for the conferences to take more power. But you're right. We already saw it last year with the COVID situation. The NCAA just checked out and said, no, we're not doing anything. And the conferences had to do it. So it's not as if this is an unprecedented sweeping change in all of college athletics. Like, I guess it'd be easy to kind of throw it in that bucket, but it's more, to me, Bill, the NCAA throwing up its hands and saying, yeah, we can't figure it out. You guys do.
Well, and that's where you saw the conferences. Now, the key part for this moving forward, because when you mentioned Ray Tanner, you know, if I'm Ray Tanner, I go about my business. Ray Tanner and South Carolina are not going to be the ones setting the precedent. Dan Radakovich and Clemson aren't going to be setting the precedent. It's going to be the new athletic director of the ACC. It's going to be Greg Sankey. It's going to be Bob Bowlesby in the Big Ten. It's going to be, I don't know who the athletic director now is. I feel like the other guy got fired in the Big Ten for the way he handled everything last year. And I say that because the one scary part, I think if you want to be dramatic and say the end of college sports as we know it, the one scary part is we saw how well the conferences worked together last year. Just to implement a broad COVID guidelines. We couldn't do it, right? Like, Tim, you and I, as we watched that, you think back to this time last year. Think about where this is kind of fun to do for a second. Just think about the excitement, as Hope says on the on the live stream. September 4th just needs to hurry up and get here, because last year we're sitting here trying to figure out where everything's going to go. We're trying to figure out if there even is going to be a college football season, and to what extent that season is going to be. 10 games, 12 games, 8 games. Is it going to be all conference games? Is it what exactly is it going to be? And I think it was around this point, Tim, that we started looking at it and going, well, it looks like the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 are on the same page. They're going to be able to work together. Too many games, too many cross-conference games. They'll be able to save all those. You had LSU and Texas, obviously Clemson, South Carolina. I can't remember. You had a few other big-time marquee games that involved those three conferences. And you'd already had the Big 10 and the Pac-12 check out. You know, we're out. We're not playing this year. Safety of our players. And then they all still couldn't work together. I think this is now where those 5 commissioners are going to have to come together and form their own legislation, their own guidance, their own rules for how name, image, likeness is going to be used. Now, if that wants to be from football down, if that wants to be across all sports, whether it's gymnastics to college football, this is where those 5, the Power 5 commissioners are going to come into play. I'll say it again. One part of this that has nothing to do with name, image, likeness, but does have everything to do with college football is the fact that college football playoff contract's running up. And before all this came to light on July 1st, before all this got really put out there, we were already talking about the college football playoff expanding. And that to me is going to seep its way into this, just because you are going to see college football as we know it change. And college football is going to be the sport that leads college athletics, in my opinion, into the next phase of I guess it's not amateurism anymore, but whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's going to reset the power structure, right? And it's already happened. Again, a lot like what we saw with the conferences making their own decisions with COVID issues last year. College football playoff has nothing to do with the NCAA. It hasn't. So we've already seen it breaking away. We just haven't seen complete autonomy from the NCAA with these Power 5 schools, because they've still been under the NCAA rules, which includes investigations and eligibility and all that. But that's basically all the NCAA has been doing now for these Power 5 football programs, at least. Now, you make a very good point. All right, if you're going to break away and become autonomous in football, well, how will that affect a school that is also a big part of the NCAA basketball tournament, which the NCAA does run? Is the NCAA going to say, hey, we're just going to do the basketball tournament now because it's $1 billion and you guys figure out the rest from the conference standpoint?
And they may, because go back and read Mark Emmert's conversation, and he did not use football and basketball specifically, right? He didn't say football and basketball. He said field hockey and lacrosse, I believe, or lacrosse, and he said college football and field hockey, I believe is what he said. Then he circled back and he said lacrosse and wrestling, different sports. And to me, that's his way of saying exactly what you just pointed out. Hey, we can't manage the NCAA. We can't manage football. It's a different sport. We're not able to manage it. We can manage basketball because we've got this big tournament at the end, and we have a little bit more control over what's going on.
No, the issue is that they make $1 billion off of it.
Here's why they have control. If the NCAA had ever stepped in and told Clemson or South Carolina, you can't go to a bowl, you're not allowed, and that bowl game, the Citrus Bowl or whatever, still invites one of those two teams, technically, if they wanted to go, they could go. The NCAA has no control over the Citrus Bowl, and in football, they had no control, and we watched it again last year. They had no control over what you do in football. Football has always kind of raised its hands and said, we're going to kind of let you govern. But technically, the NCAA never had control over football. What they have control over is inviting you to their basketball tournament. That's their control. They can say, no, we don't. Kansas, you're suspended. You cheated. You don't get to be a part of our basketball tournament for the next 3 years. Sorry, we're not inviting you. Don't care what your record is. Kentucky, yep, sorry, you can't come. Whoever it is, in North Carolina, yeah, you had fake classes. Nope, you can't come. They couldn't do that in football. The NCAA cannot keep a team out of the college football playoff, not legally.
Right. So this comes down to following the money, because the college football playoff is making their own money. Right. The NCAA tournament gets all the money from the NCAA. The NCAA gets all the money from the NCAA tournament. So that's why I don't think you're seeing any kind of incentive for the NCAA to keep the current power structure, because it's not going to make them any more money.
Right.
Until that changes, you're going to have the NCAA throwing its hands up and saying, you guys figure it out. We're not getting your college football playoff money. Why are we going to go do all this work about name, image, and likeness? Because from the Division III standpoint, the Division II standpoint, where we are in charge of those tournaments, they're not making any kind of money like that. And it's just going to be more headaches, more investigations, the whole thing.
Let me answer this, because this is an interesting question that I'm trying to look it up. I don't have an answer for it right now, and maybe we can get one by the end of the show. Travis weighs in on the live stream. So who owns or runs the college football playoff? Let me just read a part here of the college football playoff. The NCAA does not organize or award. The NCAA, listen to the key words here. The NCAA does not organize or award an official national championship for FBS football. Instead, merely recognizing the decisions made by any of a number of independent major championship selectors. And that's kind of what we're talking. But I don't know who runs it. That's a good question. I don't know who runs it. The conferences, maybe.
I think they all organized it in one way or another. But again, that is all part of the issue here, right? I mean, power has already been decentralized in that way from the NCAA's perspective, and so now I think they're just throwing their hands up and saying, "Hey, you guys figure out some other issues." But it's not going to be on us anymore. And it makes sense when you follow the money, in my opinion.
Just on the website, real quick, the College Football Playoff Administration, LLC.
Right.
Manages
their own company, right?
Yeah.
Just like the Miami Fan has made his Bring Back the U corporation. And Travis was weighing in on that standpoint and saying, I can't believe Miami coaches won't use this in recruiting, that they finalized the plans to offer those NIL contracts to every scholarship football player for the Hurricanes. Yeah, it's exactly part of the initial problem now with not having any kind of legislation in place or rules in place to keep that from happening. And who knows where it goes from here, man. All part of where we are in college athletics. We're coming off the craziest sports year that we've ever seen, with cancellations and adjustments. And like you're talking about, Bill, this time last year, so many question marks. And the fact that we got a season as close to normal as we did for college football especially, and then for the other sports, pretty amazing from my perspective. And now it just seems like it might have taken so much out of everyone. They're like, all right, we're going to completely change this thing, with the name, image, and likeness taking over. And now the NCAA president coming out yesterday and saying, hey, conferences should probably have some of that power. Wanted to touch on the Gamecock basketball transfers speaking yesterday for the first time. Anything pop out of that? You mentioned Chico Carter earlier, referencing, or he was asked about his name, image, and likeness deal. And I think that was about the only part of the conversation with those guys yesterday. I think it was much more about, all right, what led you, what kind of brought you to South Carolina, or path for the local guys like Chico Carter and James Reese. How does it feel like being back at home and now playing for the University of South Carolina? And I think a lot of it was, all right, playing for Frank Martin now and doing it in a transfer role. How do you feel like things are going, and what is this team going to look like? That's kind of what I heard from those guys yesterday, Bill. What about you?
Yeah, a lot of it was playing for Frank Martin and having the opportunities, and how excited they were to have Frank call them. I thought the interesting one was James Reese, because I wonder if it really went down like this, where he said he had 30 minutes before he had to tell his coach at North Texas if he was coming back or not. And Frank Martin called him, and he basically just took it right there. Like, he had 30 minutes to me. He was 30 minutes away from telling the North Texas coach whether he was coming back and playing his final year there. And what ended up happening was, Frank Martin called him. So obviously that was interesting. But a lot of them talking about coming back home and playing for Frank and the respect they have for him. We'll see how they gel. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. There was a part in here. This is not blaming Frank or anything, but I think it is a window into the transfer portal. Eric Stevenson yesterday, did you catch the part he talked about with how he got to know Frank Martin?
No. Refresh my memory. When Wichita State played them
in Cancun, and he said Frank Martin talked to him afterwards, and they've been close ever since. And you just think about, you just think about how that is. And now you look at I kind of had started to see this a little bit. I think there have been some funny tweets about it. There was one I saw, I think, from Jeff Goodman about Tennessee Martin playing a game at Tennessee this year in basketball, and how the Tennessee Martin coaches would be paying close attention to the layup line and the post-game handshakes to make sure that Tennessee didn't spot any players that they might want to recruit and bring over.
I've seen it phrased, Bill, as Tennessee Martin funding an official visit for all of their back to Tennessee.
Yeah,
check it out.
And it is kind of that way now. When you see players and coaches interact post-game, I think it has to raise your eyes a little bit. You go, what did they just talk about? Did they just talk about the depth chart for next year at their program? Was he reminding him of anything from the recruiting process? It's just, it is with the one-time transfer policy, it is kind of weird.
Be the old Al Pacino. De Niro. I'm keeping my eye on you, kind of thing. I'll be you're good.
But it's kind of like when South Carolina goes to play Georgia this year. I don't know what the relationship with Marshawn Lloyd and Will Muschamp is, but Shane Beamer just follows Marshawn Lloyd around in the post game, like
just keeping his arm around him, leaving.
Yeah. Or he sends poor Steve Fink with him. Fink's got to get Finker, get over there and follow Marshawn Lloyd around. Make sure he doesn't do anything.
We're upping the traveling party for this game to make sure that everyone is right back to the locker room as soon as possible. 803-404-6100 if you'd like to get in a final word. British Open update due for you in about 7 minutes from now at 8:46. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
You know what feels pretty good? Air conditioning. Air conditioning in your home, especially on a hot day during the summer. I'm telling you what, if you don't have air conditioning, you are not feeling pretty good. You are actually quite miserable. Been there before. I've seen it happen. Don't let it happen. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Roy and Dana Finley will make sure you feel pretty good by coming out, inspecting your unit, making sure everything's working. 803-677-1500. If there is an issue, they'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then they'll work with you. 0% down, 0% financing on a brand new unit. And here's the best part. Once you get that new unit in, they give you a 15-year parts and labor warranty to go along with it. So whether your unit's acting up and you need someone to come out and repair it, or whether you're looking for a new unit, there's only one place to call. AAA Heating and Air. 803-677-1500. Give AAA Heating and Air a call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. You like that one, did you? I kind of like the witness protection program here. I can have a little bit of a snack and you guys can't see it. Another health decision this week. I've been eating some mango.
Impressive. Impressed if you know who Daniel Van Tonder is.
No, I have no clue. I just know he's at 600.
I did see that, Hope, because of you on Twitter. Great stuff. Old Matt tweeted out, Matt Berry. Let's see if I got it here.
What meat did you put in?
I would love it if Brooks Koepka used a Cobra Golf driver today and just sent striping fairways. Yeah, those golf guys are so particular, I think, about their equipment. It's crazy, man. Don't think you're going to see that, unfortunately, but that would be a great move by Koepka.
What? To hit a Cobra driver? I didn't see it.
Yeah. And then just casually reference it in his post-game interview. Like, I've really been impressed with my equipment.
Yeah.
There's a bipartisan deal to invest in America's infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, the electric, broadband.
Get a water.
Morning, Mark. Coming in late, huh? Don't worry, you can go back and watch the whole thing on YouTube.
Riveting.
How dare you, Jen?
Tim, y'all got the whole family this weekend or just
16 of us in the house.
Oh, okay. Only
Yeah,
16.
both sisters and the families. It'll be It'll be a cluster. It should be pretty fun.
Okay.
If the 1-year-old sleeps, we got a chance. Otherwise, we're in big trouble.
Any golf to be played?
Tomorrow, trying to get out there.
Any particular course?
International, I think, is what we're playing tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
I played it once a while ago, kind of down our way. We might try to get out again next week. Depends how the kids are behaving, probably.
Seems wise.
What'd you fix this for breakfast?
Looks like a fried egg, some turkey, spinach, avocado, and cheese in a wrap.
It looks like.
That's what it looks like. I gotta run errands right after this. Like as soon as we get done, I'll have about 2 minutes, and then I gotta get the kids out. I need to run over to Love Chevy, and then I'd like to be somewhere comfortable at noon to watch the back half of the Open today.
I was just impressed. You cooked quickly, unless you got minions
I got
or
minions.
children, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill, we'll hit the British Open here in just a second.
Yeah, we're gonna go straight to it.
Never mind.
Sorry,
You hit it or
just giving you a heads up.
nice job.
I needed that little buffer.
Yeah, man, I like that move from the Braves. Gives fans a little hope, I think. But they got to start winning those one-run games, man. I don't think he's going to be the answer, but at least it gives you a little more firepower. But Acuna and Ozuna being out this year, just especially the way Ozuna was out, awful. I don't think you overcome that. I guess is what I'm getting at, but at least they're trying. Brutal, Mark. Brutal.
In about 30 seconds, we'll hit a
I think it
rejoin.
was witnessed by police, so I don't think holding up in court is going to be an issue.
Where'd it go? All right, gentlemen. You're up.
Looks like this weekend could have plenty of South Carolina influence over at the British Open or the Open if you're more cultured. 1 under is where Kevin Kisner sits, now tied for 30th with 4 holes left to play in his second round today. Dustin Johnson starting his second round at 2 under, not teeing off until 10:21. So Kisner from Aiken there, Dustin Johnson, obviously a Dutch Fork High School guy, and right in the mix to get towards the top of the leaderboard as he tees off a little later on today. Colin Morikawa, a bit of a runaway leader with a 3-shot lead right now in the clubhouse after a second round 64 that included lipping out for birdie on the 18th hole. So it could have been even more, and he did get it to 10 at one point. I like Morikawa being up there, Bill. Louis Oosthuizen with the first round lead. Love that. Jordan Spieth being 1 off the first round lead. Really good name up there. Tony Finau had a really good day at 4 under 66, and he's in the clubhouse after 2 rounds tied for 7th. A couple of other big names up towards the top. Just Stuart Sink was 4 under in his first round. That's fantastic for us old guys. Justin Rose up there. Scotty Scheffler, a young American. Tommy Fleetwood, a decent first round. He's +1 today, though, as he sits at -2. Some of the names towards the top of the leaderboard. Sergio Garcia, also a first round, 2 under par. Where are you at with what you're thinking? It looks like Rory has gotten on the right side of even par as well, sitting at 1 under with 5 holes left today.
Yeah, I didn't look at you asked that. I didn't look at the weather report for the weekend just to see.
Good. Not supposed to be bad weather there.
Yeah, and if that's going to be the case, it's going to be kind of a race to see who can go the lowest instead of who's fighting and trying to hold on. And if that's the case, look, Jordan Spieth played well yesterday. Oosthuizen is always a guy that you feel like is going to be around that group. And then we'll see what Koepka does later today. It wouldn't surprise me if he's able to go out and go pretty low as well to kind of put himself in the mix there. Morikawa, you mentioned he's done for the day. He shoots the 64 today, so he's 9 under. Some guys are going to have to go low to put themselves in contention with him. And Morikawa on a course with good condition doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to start making mistakes down the back 9 or on Sunday.
Koepka sitting at 1 under. He's played 3 holes today, and certainly will be interesting to keep an eye on him. Hope gave me the heads up on Twitter that my buddy Matt Berry put out the tweet that he hoped that Koepka would play with the Cobra driver today and just send it, striping it down the fairways all day, just as a shot to Bryson DeChambeau, who very quickly complained about his equipment yesterday after hitting just 4 or 14 fairways. And then the guys at Cobra Golf, who I guess the guy in charge there had just recently filled in as DeChambeau's caddy after his caddy got fed up, or they had an ugly parting there right before he was supposed to play in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, and that guy just could not. He didn't put up with it. It was completely unprofessional, and it was Bryson just being a hothead. And then DeChambeau coming out and basically saying as much, but then had to point out in that apology, which really irks me. And to me defines Bryson DeChambeau in his apology. Like, he got the first part right and should have just left it there, but he couldn't. And that's who he is, right? Like, during the match, he definitely, that's when I figured it out exactly why I'm not a fan. It's just that he tries too hard, and the apology, he had to end it with, let me give you the exact word. I mean, he said it, I suck today, not my equipment, and we've had a good relationship over the year, and their team's like family to me, and I deeply regret the words I used earlier. That's where he should have stopped. But then he finished it with, I am relentless in pursuit of improvement and perfection. Part of that causes me to become outwardly frustrated at times. Part of that causes me, not it's my fault, right? That's a big difference. And then he finished with, the new speeds I am obtaining. My game is a constant work in progress, and so is controlling my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I would think that if you're a pro golfer, you've been able to figure out how to control your emotions so you can be steadfast on the course. So I don't buy that.
Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. And that is why I am with you, Bill, somehow on Koepka versus DeChambeau. Again, not a big fan of either. If I had to choose one, I'm taking Brooksy over DeChambeau and pulling for him more. At least he's a guy that it just, I don't know what it is.
He doesn't care. He doesn't. He's a guy who is really good at golf, but it doesn't mean something to him. Like, Bryson is a guy who just comes across as like it's. Koepka's the guy who you ever see the guy who just very relaxed, very laid back, really good at something. Doesn't look like a lot gets to him. You know, Koepka, the one thing that bothered I think everybody was when it sounded like a bunch of bad wrestlers tried to take his knee out as he was walking down 18. Right. You know, at Kiowa. But the bottom line is, like, he seems like a guy who's just kind of like out there. Like, all right, yeah, all I came here to do is win majors. And that's it. I don't care about the other tournaments. I'm just here for the majors. And then he gets into this little quarrel, and he's just like, yeah, that guy's way too serious, and he talks way too much. Just go play the game. So, plenty of drama going on the golf course for the British Open this weekend, and looking forward to seeing how
that finishes up. We'll be up early checking that out, and hopefully we'll get a good finish, and Mark Howell won't run away with this thing, but it certainly seems set to do so. Bill, any latest word on the one welcome home that is still in the dark right now, the Gamecock Verbal, the Shane Beamer Cup?
Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday.
Oh, that's helpful.
Excellent clarification.
What happened when it happens?
You're plugged into the recruiting scene and said maybe it was an editing deal on the video that was supposed to come out yesterday. And
I think Bill's more involved than he's telling.
No, it's just kids. Kids. I've done it. I've done this before. It's kids. Hey, he might have seen something in the video. Hey, man, my shirt didn't look right. You're gonna need to go back and recut that part. Oh, had a problem with the hair. Got to head to the barber. We'll cut it on Friday. We'll edit it over the week. I don't know.
I think fair. You're kind of like the NCAA right now. But you might as well be NCAA President Mark Emmert. I don't know. I figure it out. How I like to approach this show. Thanks for listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. All right, live streamers, thanks for doing it with us here. Had a girl. Nice work, Tim. I will see you guys on Monday. Hopefully have a fun weekend to talk about. But either way, it'll be SEC Media Days time. There won't be much for us to discuss on the morning show. New that's happening, I don't think. At least it'll be right on the cusp. And Bill, you won't have to be sitting in an empty ballroom in Birmingham by yourself trying to find coffee for a couple hours.
At 5 a.m. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Not that you didn't do a great job with it. You made the best. You powered through, persevered.
Did what I could. That's how I do every time.
DC, Hope, Anthony, Mark, you guys, great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.